Hello, it's GodOfKnockers. My voice sounds a little off, I know. I lost my voice over the weekend, so I have to speak at a lower register if I want to do this, and I can't speak for too long, so just hear me out. Twitch gave out enforcement notes and clarifications on the prohibiting gambling content, and as expected, people are interpreting that in their own ways and trying to make it sound like it means this when it actually doesn't. It means that. So I'm going to clarify it for you. Prohibited gambling content refers to actual gambling sites, not video games, not loot boxes in video games, actual gambling. Not you guys think it's a loot box in a game and stuff. That's not what this is, okay? I'm going to read this real quick because there's really not much to it. Prohibited gambling content. We do not allow users to share links or affiliate codes to sites that contain slots, roulettes, or dice games. For example, on Twitch, you may not share a referral code to slot sites with your chat, include a banner with a link to online roulette games, or verbally refer your chat to a site containing dice games. Furthermore, similar to our prohibited games policy, we do not allow the sites below to be streamed on Twitch or linked to in chat. We consider many factors in determining whether a site is allowed, including whether the site includes safety precautions, such as deposit limits, waiting periods, and age verification systems. We also take into account whether streamers use or encourage VPNs to evade geo-blocking and whether the site is licensed in the US or other jurisdictions that provide sufficient consumer protections. We do not allow the following sites or associated domains: stake.com, rollbit.com, duelbits.com, roobet.com, blaze.com, or gandom.com. We may identify others as we move forward. This rule applies to these sites. Now, the enforcement notes and clarifications. These clarifications are examples that serve to these sites. Okay? Not games, websites, gambling websites. Enforcement notes are additional examples of what is and isn't allowed on Twitch, focus on clarifying existing policies already being enforced. These are not an add-on to. Updates here do not indicate a change in policy, but are additional examples of existing enforcements. In other words, all of this that you see here that I've highlighted, this is already in effect. This does not change anything. The additional notes, the enforcement notes and clarifications, is to make this that you see here make more sense. So, to make it more sense, the enforcement notes and clarifications: promotion or sponsorships of skins gambling, such as for CSGO skins, is prohibited under the policy. That's an example. Not CSGO itself, not the system that is incorporated in CSGO. Places like CSGO Lottery, where you put real money down to actually try to bet and win for skins and such. Skins gambling, actual gambling sites. Free or social versions of the prohibited gambling sites are also prohibited. That means sites such as Stake, Rollbit, Duelbits, Roobet, and all that stuff. If you find a free alternative of these sites, okay, or social versions that mimic these sites, you cannot stream those. Again, not video games. We do permit broadcasting websites focused on fantasy sports, sports betting, and poker at this time. The sites in question are not Stake, Rollbit, Duelbits, Roobet, Blaze, or Gandom. Don't stream those, but we do have sites here in the US that are regulated and fall under federal regulation and guidelines and have safety protections for consumers that you can stream those sites to. There's a whole bunch here that you can do that with. Those sites are fine. Again, not talking about video games. Images or logos containing any of the listed prohibited gambling sites, which again are these sites right up here that I've highlighted, are not allowed and are considered the same as sharing direct links to these gambling sites. Don't post the logos to these gambling sites on your stream. That's what that means. Prohibited example: a logo representing any of the listed prohibited gambling sites on the screen at any time or within your bio. In other words, don't go to stake.com, grab a link, post it in your, grab a link or take their logo and display it on your stream. Don't do that. That's considered a link. They will ban you. Don't do that. The restriction on prohibited gambling sites applies whether or not You personally participate in gambling activity. Prohibited example: watching or restreaming gameplay from any of the prohibited gambling sites listed above. In other words, you may not be a gambler. You may not go to Stake or Robit or any of the sites that they've mentioned up here, the ones that are highlighted. You may not go there, right? You may not do that. But in that same instance, you can't just be like, oh, here's a streamer who is on another platform who's playing Stake. In other words, you can't go to Kick, watch a streamer play gambling on any of the prohibited sites on your Twitch stream. Don't do that. Again, this entire section is about prohibited gambling content, actual gambling, not the interpretation of loot boxes, loot crates, battle passes. That's not gambling. There are a lot of gamers who don't know that, particularly because they themselves don't gamble. I gamble. I have been to gambling sites. I've been to casinos. I know the difference between an actual form of gambling, which is a game of chance, which involves the expectation of not winning anything, versus a loot box where you will guarantee to win something even if you don't want it. That's not gambling. Those two things are not the same. This is talking about prohibited gambling content and the websites that are not regulated. This does not have anything to do with video games. Two separate things. Video games are not gambling. Actual gambling sites are. Make sure to keep it that way, all right? Don't get it twisted. Don't get it mixed up. Not up for debate. Thank you for watching this video. Please spread the word. Take care.